What is up, YouTube? Porsche here, another 600 LT video. Today we're going to be comparing them against Porsche, the big brand Porsche. How are they going to compare? So we're going to compare the 600 LT to the GT3 RS and the GT2 RS, which I feel are the closest competition from the brand Porsche. Yeah, so let's get into this. Alright, so one of the first things I want to do with this video comparing the Porsche RS series cars to the 600 LT is we need to talk about the availability and pricing, because we already know how much the 600 LT is. I've already called the dealership. I said, hey, can I get one? They said yes. And I said, what's the price? They said, that's the price on the sheet. It's like going to CarMax. There's one price. That is the price. It's available. There's no markup. That's what you can get the car for. It's still a lot of money, but there's no games, there's no tricks, there's no negotiating. You just say you want it and you buy it. With Porsche, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this, but there's just ridiculous, time of wait. There's ridiculous wait times, and there's a lot of addendums and cars selling for way over MSRP. I know there's been a lot of videos on YouTube about the GT3 RS, going years, probably in the past 3 years even, with people paying $100,000-$200,000 over MSRP, and a lot of brokers getting involved in making big money by flipping them. I know there's definitely a video on YouTube of a guy saying that he got banned. He can't even buy Porsche cars anymore or something like that because he flipped so many and got caught. And then Porsche's came up with some new tactics to try to stop the brokers, and apparently it's made it more difficult for regular people to buy them at certain times. Anyway, so that makes this all very difficult because setting the price, looking at MSRP, doesn't always really become accurate. So comparing this against the McLaren 600 RT isn't really accurate until we know what's going on today. Can I just drive over to the dealership or call the dealership and just buy one? Well, that's what I figured we'll do. I'm going to actually call my Porsche dealership. The closest one to me is in Carlsbad here in San Diego. So I'm going to call them here on the phone with you guys.
Good morning, hello Porsche Carlsbad. This is Terry. May I direct your call?
Hi there. My name is Alex. I'm calling to see if I could speak with a sales representative, please.
Certainly. One moment, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Muting the call real quick. I may need to take the phone off of speaker for some of this.
Thanks for calling Porsche. This is Mark. Can I help you?
Hey, Mark. My name is Alex. I'm actually in the market for a new sports car. I currently have a Nissan GTR, and I was kind of thinking of upgrading.
You're breaking up a little bit. In the market for what? I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. You know what? I had you on speaker. Can you hear me a little bit better now? Great. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, Mark. I'm Alex. Yes. Thanks. Nice to meet you too. I live here in Carlsbad, and I've had a Nissan GTR for the past 3 years, and I own my own business, and things have been going pretty well. And was kind of just starting the process of looking at kind of the upgrade path I have available. Looking at the different models and brands, and so I do like. Oh, definitely. So, like the two cars that I really like the most that you guys offer, you probably already would guess both of them, but are the GT3 RS and GT2 RS. And I watch a lot of car videos on YouTube and stuff, and I don't know if things are still the same as they were a couple years ago. I know there were a lot of videos on YouTube of people saying like, oh, you have to pay $100,000 over MSRP and things like that, or you can't get them. And is that still going on? Okay. 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 So, sorry I had to take my phone off of speaker because he couldn't hear me when I was talking on speaker for some reason. He said I was muffled, probably because of my phone case. But the summary of that phone call was that they have both GT3 RS and GT2 RS in stock right now. They have one of each, which I think is probably a little bit unusual, but maybe not. Maybe Porsche's not moving their cars as well as they want to, and maybe the dealerships are saying we have only one left because they're trying to get people to run and drop everything they're doing to come buy the car. They might actually have more than one. That being said, he said that their addendums or markups over MSRP for the GT2 RS has been as high as I think about 200 over when they first came out. He said that the one that they did like a couple weeks ago was $170,000 over MSRP, and that he thinks that they could go as low as 100 over MSRP. So he said that most of the GT2 RSs that they're selling, if they get, you know, if it wasn't ordered by a customer, they're usually selling MSRP price around 340. So you're adding at least a minimum of 100 to 340. So you're talking 440, and then it could be even more than 100, and then you've got tax and everything. So you're talking about pretty much a $500,000 car at this point, which to me is a little bit crazy. I think I understand that they hold their value really well, and some of them appreciate in value, which is awesome. But I don't really like that. Also, so that was just the GT2 RS I just spoke about. The GT3 RS, he said that he had, I think the one he had in stock was like MSRP was like 210. So there were a little bit of options on it, and he said that they're usually selling for about 60 over MSRP right now, and that he knows they can go lower. He threw out the number of 40 over MSRP is likely. So I'm sure with the way that I usually buy cars, I could probably get it for 20 or 30 over MSRP if I really wanted it and they really wanted to move a car. But the performance you get for that for a GT3 RS compared to other cars, because now you're talking about the same. If it's 215 plus 30, that is literally the same price as a 600 LT. And I just don't think that's a good comparison. We'll look at the specs here in a minute, but it's not good enough. Sorry, my cat just walked in here. It's not. I don't think it's an apples, or not. Maybe not apples to apples, but I don't think the GT3 RS is in the same boat as the 600 LT. I think it's close to a 570S. You may disagree with me on that. And then finally, they do have. So there's a very rare car that Porsche sells, and it's the GT3 manual transmission. And he said that those are really, really hard to get. Those are way harder to get right now than either the GT3 RS or the GT2 RS, because the manual transmissions, they don't really build any from the factory very often with the manual transmission option. You have to order. So then I asked, well, if I order one, can you do MSRP? And he said no, and that the GT3 manuals are going for typically 40, I think he said, over MSRP. And that he might be able to do more like 20, and that they started, I think, around 130 or something like that, 130, 140 without options. So that would turn into, you know, like $180,000, $200,000 car. But this is my opinion. I think that would be, investment wise, maybe for me it would be a downgrade in performance from my GTR to get a GT3 non RS. But I think the fun factor would be really high on that car with the manual transmission. I love manual. And I think that car in particular will hold its value very well, because there are a lot of manual transmission cars right now that are appreciating the value. Like there's VinWiki videos about the Murcielago going up and things like that. So not that I could ever, you know, predict the future, but I would think that the GT3 manual would do well over time. So let's look at the specs. Let's side by side compare the specs on the three cars we're talking about here. So the McLaren 600 LT we've talked about in great detail already, and it has about 600 horsepower and about 460 pounds of torque. So horsepower wise, it has more than the GT3 RS, but less than the GT2 RS. And same with the torque, it has more than, I'll just say just the same. It's in the middle between the two of them on torque. But weight, it's significantly lighter than both cars. So that's a pretty good thing in its favor. I have this little formula I've thrown together that's horsepower per pound, and it falls right in the middle of the two. but closer to the GT2 RS. And then motors, this is kind of interesting. They are very similar motor setups actually. The Porsches both have inline sixes. The RS has twin turbo, just like the 600 LT has twin turbo, but the 600 LT has a V8 instead of an inline six. So, you know, some people like the sound of the six from the Porsche. It's probably the best sounding six in the world. And a lot of people just love the sound of a V8, even a small one. 3.8 is pretty small for a V8 in my opinion. They all have 7-speed dual clutch transmissions. They're all rear wheel drive, and the 600 LT's anticipated 0 to 60 time of 2.8 falls right in the middle between the GT2 RS and the GT3 RS. The 0 to 100 falls much closer to the GT2 RS though, big time, because it's supposed to be around 5.8 versus the 5.5 on the GT2 RS. The GT3 RS really falls off here. 6.7 is it's a whole second slower than the GT2 RS. So the 600 LT is getting way closer to the GT2 there. And then quarter mile time is anticipated at 10.4 on the 600 LT, which again is a lot closer, almost the same as the GT2 RS, with the top speed, falling right in the middle again. So I think there's a lot of things to talk about here. You know, this is a starting price right here. $293,000 is the starting price in the GT2 RS, which is significantly higher than the 600 LT. But as I mentioned, to get your hands on one, you have to, even if you don't get any options on it, you have to pay at least $100,000 more. And then if you can only find one that's pre-built and already has the options on it, then you're probably throwing another $50,000. So this can easily become a $500,000 car. The GT3 RS with a couple options and the addendum of $40,000 or $60,000 easily goes over the 240 of them. I spec my 600 LT out at $250,000, so only $10,000 in additional options. I don't think that all the carbon fiber stuff is worth it to me because of my budget. If I had more money, I probably would think it was worth it. So that being said, the GT3 RS becomes the same price as the 600 LT, but a much lower performer. And so I think at that point, what it would really come down to is to lean toward the Porsche. For me, it would be the driving experience. Is it better? Is there a better feel in the Porsche? Does everything feel better and more connected to the road? My guess would be no. Just based on, I haven't driven either one of these cars, but going off of information available on the internet, the 600 LT, a lot of people that just got off of doing hot laps with it are saying that it's one of the most connected feeling cars they've ever driven. So not to say that the GT3 RS or GT2 RS wouldn't have a good connection, but people are saying that the 600 LT is like basically as good as it gets. And so so there's that. If you like the feeling of the Porsche more, you might want to go that way. And then there's the resale value. The 600 LT is really, it's going to be kind of a wild card. Like how well is it going to hold its value? No one really knows. You can just look at what they've done before. The 570S has not held its value very well, but the 675 LT has held its value decently. So being that this is also a limited edition LT model, long tail, there's a good chance it will hold its value also. I just don't think I don't think it's going to hold its value as well as either one of these Porsches will. But at the end of the day, are you buying one of these cars as an investment, or are you buying it to put a smile on your face? So for me, I think the smile on your face factor is always going to be the number one factor in my purchase, even if it's financially irresponsible. So I think that's pretty much all we need to talk about today. So tomorrow, in the next couple days, I'll probably do some videos on some other brands, maybe Ferrari, Lamborghini, and even some lower end stuff like maybe Corvette and GTR. So that's it for the Porsche video. Appreciate you guys staying this long. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends. And I need all the help I can get to try to grow my YouTube channel, so that all this time I spend making these videos doesn't go to waste. Anyway, thanks, and I'll see you tomorrow.